The laughter wouldn't stop. It echoed in the firefighter's mind, light and playful, yet unnatural. It followed him home that night, threading itself into the silence like a whispering wind. But the fire had been real. The child had been real. So why did the golden coin in his pocket feel wrong? Two hours earlier, the alarm blared through Station 17, sending the crew scrambling. Captain Eric Calloway snatched the dispatch radio from its cradle. Structure fire. Abandoned field house on Kinley Road. Reports of a child trapped inside. Eric's chest tightened. An abandoned building on the outskirts of Boston was bad news. Unstable floors, hidden pockets of fire, and a structure that could collapse at any second. "Let's roll!" he barked. Firefighters Logan, Diaz, and Marshall climbed into Engine 17, their faces set with grim determination. The drive was short, but as they neared, Eric felt something shift in the air. The black sky stretched above them, the moon hanging like a dull coin, smothered in clouds. They turned onto Kinley Road, tires skidding on damp pavement. Flames licked at the skeletal remains of the old field house, green and orange embers dancing like fireflies in the dark. But what sent chills through Eric wasn't the fire, it was the laughter. It came from the shadows beyond the flames, light and high-pitched, childlike. Eric and his team jumped out, immediately assessing the scene. The fire hadn't yet reached full intensity, but it moved strangely, almost deliberately, twisting like fingers over the broken walls. "Over there!" Diaz pointed toward a gap in the wall, where a small figure huddled inside. A boy, no older than 8, clutching his knees. His clothes were too clean for a street kid, his face too pale in the glow of the fire. Eric's radio crackled. "Captain, structural integrity is failing. We have minutes, at best." Minutes. Eric didn't hesitate. "Marshall, hose line on me. Logan, Diaz, get the extraction kit ready." He rushed toward the opening. Smoke curled around his helmet, the air growing thick and heavy. "Kid, I'm coming for you!" The child didn't move. He just smiled. That was when Eric saw it, a glimmer in the boy's hands, a golden coin catching the firelight, and just as he stepped closer, the laughter returned all around him, but the boy's lips never moved. Eric's boots crunched over debris as he closed the distance. The boy still hadn't moved, his small fingers wrapped around the golden coin, the firelight making it gleam unnaturally bright. The laughter didn't stop. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once, sharp, playful, but with something else beneath it, something ancient. "Come on, kid, we gotta move!" Eric shouted over the roar of the fire. The boy finally blinked, as if noticing him for the first time. His eyes, a deep green like fresh clover, locked onto Eric's with a gaze far too calm for a child trapped in a burning building. "You came," the boy whispered. "I was waiting." Eric's radio crackled. "Captain, ceiling collapse imminent. You need to get out now." Eric turned, signaling Marshall and Diaz to prepare for a fast extraction. No time to question the weirdness. "All right, buddy, we're getting you out of here." He reached for the boy. The second his fingers brushed the child's arm, a cold shock ran up his spine. The flames roared higher, as if reacting to his touch. Wham! A chunk of the ceiling crashed down, barely missing them. Marshall cursed behind him. Smoke curled into the opening, turning thick and greenish, like fog rolling over an ancient moor. "Captain, move!" Eric scooped up the boy, ignoring how unnaturally light he felt, and turned to run. Then the laughter changed. It wasn't coming from the shadows anymore. It was coming from the boy. Eric sprinted toward the breach, the weight of his air tank pressing into his back. Flames clawed at the walls, embers swirling like fireflies in a hurricane. Marshall and Diaz cleared the last burning beams. Logan grabbed Eric's shoulder, helping him through. The moment Eric's boots hit the pavement outside, the entire field house collapsed behind him. A cloud of embers and smoke billowed into the night. Engine 17's emergency lights flashed against the haze. They'd made it. Eric took a breath, looking down at the boy in his arms. He was grinning. "Told you," the child whispered. "You were meant to find me." And then, as Eric set him down, the boy was gone, vanished. But something was still in Eric's palm. A cold, solid weight. He opened his fingers. The golden coin. And from somewhere in the distance, the laughter began again. Eric stood frozen, the golden coin burning cold in his palm. The air around him was thick with smoke, the remnants of the collapsed field house still smoldering behind him. But his mind wasn't on the fire. The boy was gone. Marshall clapped a hand on his shoulder. "Captain, you good?" Eric swallowed hard. The kid had been right there. He'd felt his weight, heard his voice. Now nothing. No footprints in the ash. No sign of anyone running away. He glanced down at the coin again. It was perfect. Too perfect. Smooth gold, gleaming despite the grime on his gloves. A strange marking was etched into one side, a twisting, looping pattern, like Celtic knots woven together. The back was blank, but when Eric turned it over, the symbol had changed. He blinked. Number that was impossible. His mind was playing tricks on him. A voice crackled over the radio. "All units, report back. Scene is secure." Eric exhaled sharply, shoving the coin into his pocket. "Copy that." He needed to focus. By the time Engine 17 pulled back into the station, exhaustion was setting in. The crew filed out, stretching sore muscles, coughing out the last remnants of smoke. Logan grabbed a bottle of water, shaking his head. "That was weird, right?" Diaz flopped onto the worn-out couch in the lounge. "Weird how?" Logan hesitated. "I don't know. The fire moved strange. And that green smoke?" Marshall shrugged. "Old buildings do weird things." Eric stayed quiet. He reached into his pocket, fingers brushing the coin's cool surface. That laughter, it still echoed in his ears. The firehouse was quiet. The others had turned in, leaving Eric alone in his office, staring at the coin under his desk lamp. Was it warm now? A chill ran through him as he turned it between his fingers. The markings had shifted again. This time, the pattern formed something unmistakable, a shamrock. The air in the room changed, the lights flickered, and then a laugh, software, amused, coming from right behind him. Eric's breath caught in his throat. The laugh was close, too close. Slowly he turned his head. Nothing. The office was empty, the dim desk lamp casting long shadows over his papers and radio gear. But something in the air felt off. The warmth of the room had been replaced by a creeping chill, like the damp air of a forgotten basement. His fingers tightened around the coin, a flicker of movement. Eric's eyes snapped to the reflection in the glass door of his office. A figure stood behind him. Eric spun around, heart hammering. And there, leaning casually against the wall, was a man. Not a firefighter, not someone from his crew. He was tall, wiry, dressed in an old-fashioned green coat with brass buttons. His face was sharp, his eyes a shade of emerald, so deep they seemed to glow. His grin was wide, too wide. He tipped his hat. "Well now, Captain Calloway," the man said, his voice rich with amusement. "Ain't you a lucky one?" Eric shot to his feet, instinct screaming. "Who the hell are you?" The man chuckled. He took a slow step forward, hands in his pockets. "Ah, but that's the wrong question, lad. What you should be asking is, what did you take from me?" Eric's pulse thundered. His hand curled around the coin. The boy, the fire, the laughter, it was all connected. "Where's the kid?" he demanded. The man let out a deep sigh, shaking his head. "Ah, now there's the real shame. You see, Captain, there never was a kid." Eric's stomach dropped. "I don't play game," he growled. The man grinned wider. "Oh, but you do now, because you've gone and taken something that don't belong to you. And in my world, lad, that comes with a price." Eric slowly pulled the coin from his pocket and held it up. "This?" The man's eyes darkened. "Aye, that." Eric's grip tightened. What does it mean? The man exhaled, stepping closer. The air crackled, charged with something Eric couldn't explain. It means, the stranger said, voice dropping, that you owe me a favor, and when the time comes, you'll pay it. The lights flickered again. Eric's radio burst to life, a call coming through. The moment his eyes flicked toward it, the man was gone. The only thing left was the cold weight of the coin in Eric's palm, and the echo of laughter in the dark. Eric's fingers clenched around the golden coin, his pulse pounding. The stranger was gone, vanished like smoke in the wind, but the air still carried that unnatural chill, as if something unseen still lingered. His radio crackled again. Engine 17, emergency call. Possible structure collapse, warehouse district. Multiple workers trapped. Eric snatched up the receiver. Copy that, en route. No time to think about disappearing men in green coats. Lives were on the line. Minutes later, Engine 17 screeched to a halt in front of a crumbling warehouse. The building was ancient, brick and steel, its bones groaning under stress. Smoke billowed from a collapsed section of the roof. Workers were screaming for help from inside. Eric scanned the scene. Logan, get a stabilization rig ready. Diaz, take the hose line. Marshall, go with me. We're getting those people out. His team moved fast, trained for situations like this. But as Eric ran toward the entrance, a whisper curled around his ear. Time to pay, Captain. He skidded to a stop. The voice was right beside him. No one was there. He turned sharply, but the only thing he saw was a swirl of embers drifting in the air. Not now. Focus. He pushed forward, disappearing into the smoke-filled warehouse. Inside, chaos reigned. The heat was rising. Flames curled along steel beams, bending them like fingers. Cracked concrete sagged from the ceiling. Screams echoed from deeper inside. Eric and Marshall moved fast, stepping over fallen debris, their flashlights slicing through the haze. A woman was trapped beneath a collapsed support beam. Eric knelt beside her. We're going to get you out. But something was wrong. The beam, it was impossibly heavy. No way they could lift it without tools. Then the coin burned against Eric's palm, a flicker of movement in the corner of his vision. Through the swirling smoke, a shadowy figure stood watching. The man in green. He smiled and tapped his temple. A favor, lad. Just ask. Eric's breath hitched. The weight of the beam, the heat pressing in. There wasn't time. His jaw clenched. He didn't trust the trickster, but he couldn't let this woman die. Eric exhaled, gripping the coin, and whispered, "Help me." The moment the words left his lips, the warehouse shifted. A gust of wind, stronger than it should have been, roared through the space. The flames flickered, their intensity dimming for a fraction of a second. And then, the beam moved. Not much, but enough. Enough for Marshall to pull the woman free. Eric's heart slammed against his ribs. That wasn't possible, but it had happened. And as the flames roared back to life, the laugh returned, soft and knowing. Debt paid, for now. Eric turned, but the man was already gone, and in his hand, the coin was missing. The warehouse crumbled behind them as the last of the trapped workers were pulled to safety. Eric stood near Engine 17, hands on his knees, lungs burning from the smoke. His team was safe, the civilians were safe, but the coin was gone, and in its place, deep in his gut, a lingering unease. Marshall clapped a hand on his back. Hell of a night, Cap. Eric barely nodded. He could still feel it, the weight of something unseen, like the air just before a storm. The warehouse fire should have been impossible to escape. That beam should have never moved, but it did, and he knew why. Back at the firehouse, the crew settled in, exhaustion thick in the air. Logan slumped onto the couch. I don't care if it's St. Patrick's Day. No drinks, no parties, just sleep. Laughter rippled through the room, but Eric barely heard it. He stood at his locker, staring at the empty space where the coin should have been. A deal had been made. The trickster had taken what was his. And yet, a flicker of movement. Eric's breath caught. On the top shelf of his locker sat a single green feather, software, vibrant, resting exactly where the coin had been. His fingers brushed over it, and the air in the firehouse suddenly felt lighter. The tension that had coiled in his chest since the rescue eased, just slightly. From somewhere in the distance, a laugh, not cruel, not mocking, just amused. Eric let out a slow breath. Whatever had happened tonight, whatever he had gotten himself into, was over, for now. But deep down, he knew the truth. The man in green was still out there, and one day the trickster might return. Maybe for another favor. Maybe just to watch. But until then, Eric would be ready. As the firehouse settled into the quiet of the night, the captain of Engine 17 shut his locker and walked away. And behind him, unseen by all, the feather disappeared, and the laughter faded with it. Thanks for watching Brave Sparks. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more powerful and inspiring stories. Stay brave, and we'll see you in the next one.